Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So I am back, and I was coming in to fertilize. So I'm going to top this off here. We'll get this back to the field. So we've got a farmer who owns these couple fields here, as you know. So you can see they've got their equipment there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down here. And you may likely be asking, well, why? This is why. I need to re-sample the field. Otherwise, I cannot get the appropriate information with precision farming. It actually won't let me fertilize because it knows it has outdated data. So that is a way you can check that, where you turn it on and once you pull in, basically it fails and it just stops spreading because it doesn't have enough information to know how much fertilizer it needs. So I'm going to go ahead and go and rent the Asaria Scout, which I think I had mentioned last episode, that once again one of the benefits of harvesting just 3 times a year as opposed to 4 is going to be less times that I need to go ahead and rent that. So the map certainly has a lot of coverage with trees down the road. I mean, it's a nice view. You know, if we jump in here inside the tractor, definitely a nice tree-lined lane. Certainly easier to drive this way than it is kind of with a drone view or whatever you'd call the other view that we all tend to play within, because it's just easier to work with. So, you know, a lot going on the map. Crops growing for various people. As I've said, we've got several FMs that have expanded their holdings quite a bit. So this canola field here off to the left is owned by, as you can see, the light blue farm. I don't know that we've got anything else along the road between here and the shop. I think there might be some things over on the right that are owned, but you can see that high rise kind of in the distance off to the left. That is where the shop is located. I had actually just run up here the day before to repair and refuel the tractor while I was finishing up the collection of the grass harvest. And as expected, I had gotten, you know, probably around that 930,000, 940,000 liter range. So everything's tracking to what I saw the first time that I harvested, so that is good. But I have a couple days until I need to worry about the harvest, but since I'm doing something different with the soil sampling, I figured I'd pop in between, because I know at the end of the last episode I said likely the next time you'll see me is either when I have a contract, or if I decide to do that, or when I'm ready to pull the second harvest off the field, just to kind of give you an update and let you know what's going on. But since we've got this brand new unexpected item coming up, I figured, as always, we'll call an audible and we will bring you along a little bit for that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this rented, I'm going to get it back down to my field, and we'll resume our chat as I sample the field. Alright, so here we are. I'm gonna, again, try to be as efficient as I can with getting these samples done. I might have to look at the precision farming map a bit to really see kind of where we're at as far as the rows and so forth, so that I get the coverage I need, but obviously don't grab more than I absolutely must. So, general updates, what I can share. You know what's going on here, but just I'm going to jump in and continue as I typically do, just around FSN, the happenings that are of interest to me and therefore I think might be of interest to you as you follow along. So first is the fact, through the revamp that's going on with all the various things, one of the things that we've come to right now is they're going to be renumbering the existing servers, and so they're kind of going to go in and out of availability. And so rather than have a situation where I can't do work, or maybe I plant something and then I have an issue, the prudent thing seems to be to wait, which means you're not going to see any kind of Misty Hills update in a while. Let me just check this real quick. Alright, so yeah, it doesn't really give me a good example, but we can see where the field edge is, and then I can just kind of go along here and make sure that I'm continuing to cover that, and I should be okay at that point, I would imagine. If somehow I'm missing some, it's got to be really, really small. I think I've got some overlap. So if I kind of look at that, switch out, like, yeah, you can see I'm actually overlapping quite a bit. So I'm probably okay here to actually go a good ways up. Let me just see what this looks like. So now if we swap that out, yeah. Alright, because that'll let me do maybe just a few samples less. And this is more of a time thing than it is a cost thing for certain. But if I go ahead and do this, I'll go ahead and pull this along. But so we're going to have more of a delay on anything coming out of Misty Hills, because I'd rather not have kind of fits and starts where we're going. I think, if I got in there, I could do something and still be okay for next year, but it just doesn't seem worth the hassle, frankly. So I'm going to hold off there because they said servers can kind of vanish, be unavailable for a time. Obviously that time's not defined, so I don't know if that's hours, days. I doubt it's weeks, but in any event, I think it might be getting late enough that I could have done a fall planting, and since I am coming up on the point where kind of the every other day schedule of Misty Hills is going to cease, with, I think, tomorrow's episode will be the last one that I did before I left. So there's something short coming up for you tomorrow on that, just to share one of the last things I was doing. But then, we'd get in, and like if I needed to do, if I did something with the cows, for example, like it would just be a wait, and there's a waiting game, and there's no real benefit, as I've said, with the other option, which is just plant in the spring like normal. And I would hope kind of by then things will be renumbered, because I think if we recall again, when they staggered these servers a bit, I think they're only staggered by like a couple months, so I think it's July or August on the regular calendar. And so we've still got like 9 months. We've got a little over a week that things would be going on. And I would think they'll have things renumbered by then. So that's what's going on there, but then that's also why I'll probably do more of an update here this time, because I think normally I do most of that chatter there, because it's more relevant there than it is here. So the other thing that's going on is the enhanced realism servers, it looks like those are complete. Folks should be fully moved in, is kind of what the note was either this morning or last night. So folks were told, hey, if you had expressed interest but weren't contacted, you know, go ahead and get in touch with them. And then that's where the message was indicating that the next thing is going to be renumbering the servers that aren't changing, which would be ours. So, you know, there's then, if anybody's decided to go to one of the other servers for the 24-day month, or the, the 24-day year, not month. That would be a really long game. I don't remember if that's possible, honestly. I think it might be, now that I think about it. So, yeah, I think you could have some, that might be a series to try at some point. Just the longest you can have, and you know. But of course, all that would turn into would be really, really dull movement of stuff. So I don't know that has any interest. I'm just kidding, honestly. All right. So we've got that, and then obviously I'm continuing on here, and then, you know, the non-farm sim related stuff is obviously ongoing as well. Unfortunately, my progress is slower than I would have liked. I'm doing everything I can. I'm watching suggestions, tips from folks, you know, how to improve things, and it is just a struggle right now with the sports sim that I'm trying to get to master level at. And so it's taking some time, and I really have no guess on when that may finally appear. It will appear. I will get there at some point. I just don't know. Really. You know, I was making really good progress, and then I probably played 3 or 4 rounds now that nothing got as bad as the first one I had, but I've certainly backslid some, and so that obviously is meaning that we're not proceeding where we need to. So, and I may start something up a little early. I really don't know. So I'm going to keep working on this field because there's still a lot to do. I haven't even done the border yet. I got to do probably 2 or 3 passes up the middle. So it's going to take a little bit of time, and I'm not sure this is that terribly interesting, and then I'll be back once I'm working on the next step. Alright, so we're going to go ahead. We got 46 samples, and I'm going to send those to the lab. So those are going to go off. And then we've got to wait some time until we can actually fertilize. So in the interim, I'm going to return this. So you can see it took us 0.3 hours, so we only have the $867 of the rental that we pay. And, you know, we get what we need. And, you know, I could go ahead and connect, and then I kind of have to wait. But I've got a crazy idea. So I took a look, and remember I told you fertilizing is worth it? We're going to really make it worth it. So I'm going to take this contract and fertilize. Now, I may throw myself off a bridge by the time I'm done. I don't know. But this is part of the experiment. So obviously I've done a small one, and I felt it was worthwhile. And small on this map is relative. This is one of, if not the largest field on the map. So as I head up there, it is this field here that you can see blinking away. So as you can see, it's kind of like the Death Star of fields in Mecklenburg. It kind of swallows everything around it. But the reason I felt I could give this a shot is I'm right up there near the store where I can purchase fertilizer up there. So it's not like I have to drive. That's kind of one of the things I had talked about, is it may not be worth the effort if I've just got to go crazy distances to get fertilizer. Now, it's still not going to be super close because, again, this map is so large that even though it's just down the road is relative. It's much closer to the store than you know, driving down here, for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that, and obviously we'll take you along for a little bit of that, just so you can kind of get the excitement and the thrill of the Expanse. But there is intentional purpose of laying out the episode the way I did, as far as sharing the news in the order that I did, because the key point is, right now, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get onto my main farm again. So I likely have certainly a few days until I have to think about it. And so I feel like I can actually take the risk of taking something like this that may be biting off more than I can chew. But I'm hopeful that this will turn into a pretty good payday. The challenge of being able to tell entirely what it turns into is, it's going to take some time. I only have a little bit of time right now tonight to work on it. And so, because yeah, I'm not sure. I think this might be part of the field. I guess I should look, because if it is, no, it's not. All right. So you can see, like, the shop is here. And, you know, so I just need to go down this road. So it's basically, you could say, however long it's going to take me to get from here to the intersection is about how long it's going to take me from the top of the field. Now, once again, you know, that means I need to get back to the top of the field. I need to do all that stuff. So it's going to take some time, because even though this has a nice spread, it only holds 3,200 liters. And I think the one field I did when I tested this, we'll take a look when I get down. So that time that it took, that's how long it's going to take me to get back here. So we got a little bit of a dirt road, not quite straight. So you can kind of start to see, you know, the challenges that exist here. So I'm gonna set the GPS for now. We'll see. Alright. Okay, so it's there, I think. I'll just make sure. Yep. So it's at that next road. Because in theory, like, then, once I go around, I should be able to do some stuff. Alright. So here we are. So we're gonna start making the rounds around this thing, and we'll go crazy with it. So the problem is, all these fields are so close together. I'm not sure, short of having you take the whole trip around here, that there's a way to tell. I mean, I guess you can tell. You can see the trees down there. Like, I don't think there's a hope that I'm going to get around this field without having to refill. You know, so we have that. We have, you know, all the other challenges we're going to have going on here. And also the fact that, you know, heck, it might take me once around to get 5% of the field done. I mean, this is a big field, so I didn't really look at the contract. We'll peek in real quick. I'm a little worried because I'm obviously manually driving around the headland here. But it's 156.48 acres. So this is big. You know, if you're one of the viewers who's been around for a long time, and has followed Misty Hills from the early days, all of my fields combined on Seneca, which is a map in Ohio, all of them amounted to about 110 to 120 acres. So this is, 40 to 30 to 40 acres more than that. So it's basically like another couple fields in that map added onto the farm I already had. So, and as you can see, it's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. Maybe I should do a whole episode where I just talk in Elton John lyrics and apply them to Farming Simulator. I don't think that would really be possible, but I could try, because I'm pirouetting here like a tiny dancer. Right at the end here, a ballerina. You should have seen her dancing in the sun like I am here, fertilizing the field. I'm trying really hard. I don't know, This is the stuff that happens when you decide you've taken on a job that you may regret. But my hope is really once I get around and I can start dancing appropriately, since I don't have a tiny spreader like the tiny dancer has a tiny tutu, I'm hoping it's not going to be too terribly bad. It's just the issue of, how often do I need to go refill? The thing I do like is, obviously, it's not as if, oh gee, I moved for 5 minutes or a minute. I don't know, because it might be 5 minutes and then I'll have to refill. But I've gone quite a ways, and, I'm finally getting into the last 1,000. I think I might be off the edge. No, I think I'm still okay. Ooh, we got 10% complete already, so this may be faster than I thought, which would be awesome if that's the case. Like, if I could get this whole field done in, say, an hour and make $100,000, and again, I'm not going to make $100,000 because I'm going to have to go buy fertilizer, and fertilizer is not cheap. But my hope is that, I'm not going to need more than, say, I don't know, 20,000 liters of fertilizer, so 7 loads or something. I mean, because once again, in theory, I did 10%, and I'm probably missing some of the field here because I'm trying to be really careful that I get to the edge, so I know my spread is wider on the right side than it is on the left side, and I've still hit the 10%. Once I'm running actual proper rows, I think the situation will be pretty good. Alright, so we can see the number blinking, which means we're probably about half the width of the field. So let's see, we're just at 11%. So in theory, I just need 10 loads, one of which I've already done, so I need 9 more. And it's, say, 5,500 or so per load. The reality, unfortunately, is I'm probably going to spend $50,000+ on fertilizer, but if I can turn around and in an hour make $50,000, that's pretty good. That's way better than I've seen with typical contracts where you're making $5,000 to $10,000 an hour. So, but that was one of the reasons I felt fertilizer contracts might work. The challenge, again, on the map is the distance and the fact that, I can go a good amount. I have widespread, but I then have to drive and fill this thing. I could, I suppose, rent an auger wagon, load it with fertilizer, and drag it over. But then I'd be disconnecting because I'm not going to rent another tractor. It doesn't make any sense, and the amount of money that would take to do all this renting and then the added time. I think I just have to pick and choose what makes sense. So like I said, because this is not too terribly far, as long as I could find fields either near my farm or up here, those are probably worth taking if I have the time to do it. And since I don't have the other farm to go to right now, I have a little bit more time that I could devote to this. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and just buy 8 bags. I'm actually going to buy another 8 bags. Because there's no doubt in my mind I am going to use these bags. And then some. But this way, at least, I'm not wasting time. When I come here, I'll just be able to pull up and load up and go from there. And, you know, the nice thing is I don't have to do my field for the next day or two before it gets to harvest. So this will basically be growth day 2 of 3. Tomorrow will be 3 of 3. You know, I'd run into trouble if I waited beyond that. So any time today or tomorrow, I can go ahead and fertilize, and you know, I can always just run over in between and take 10 minutes to fertilize my field if I'm really running tight on time. But I'm feeling a lot better now that I've begun this and run over, because if I got 11%, and like I said, you know, with the better spread, you know, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll only have 9 loads. And, you know, we're talking 45,000, and then, you know, basically making 55,000, which would be really nice. So I'll keep you with me a little bit longer. Obviously, if you're still here, you want to see stuff. So, and if you don't want to see stuff, you're probably not listening to me because you're not here. And if you're not here and you're listening to me, I suggest you go see someone, because something else is going on. But this becomes certainly one of those things, like, I'm doing the work anyway. It's no skin off my back to record it and show you. So, there we go. It just takes a while for it to click over. It always makes that I pull on the right field. I mean, I know I did, because I could see the tracks coming off the field. Not sure what. This might be soybeans or something. So I was going to say, if these are like potatoes, I pity the fool who would harvest this. I know one of the FMs did 61 as a sugar beet field and harvested it as a contract, and that took them days, I think. You know, again, not continually, but just between having the time and all that, it took them many days to do it. And that field is, whoops, not as big as this one. I think I got it in time. We'll find out when it paints. Maybe. What is happening? Why is it? There we go. Alright. So yes, I think we're okay. Getting really close to being too far away there. But yeah, so it's no skin off my back to just keep recording, and I can babble about anything. Heck, I was going to do an episode trying to use Elton John lyrics in Farming Simulator. I mean, I'll come up with something to talk about. But, you know, that at a minimum, I certainly, at this point, I'll keep this going until I get around, so you can kind of see what the field looks like in its entirety around the headlands. So that if you are a masochist and want to work a field this big, manually maybe, you know, hey, do it on an extreme realism server in FSN. Cause yourself lots and lots of pain. You know, why not? But, you know, this is definitely a field where normally, if I was doing this in single player, this would absolutely be a course play field. It's just too big. But doing just a job like this, fertilizing on it, I think is going to be manageable. But I think by the time I get to the end of it, I'm still going to be pulling my hair out, because I'll be like, why did I take this? Although, like I said, if I somehow got it done in an hour, I just don't think it's going to be quite that fast. It's probably going to be closer to 2, which is still not going to be a bad payout, because I think the other job I did was like 29,000, and like I said, I think I did $15,000 in fertilizer, maybe even more. Maybe it was closer to 20, so you know, I made like 9,000 or 10,000 off of it. But it was probably closer to 15, because I kind of remember, and that's kind of why I said, yeah, this might be worth it, because it seemed that on this map I was able to basically get a 50% payout on the fertilizer contracts as far as profit. And so if I had the time, because I have the equipment and I don't have to lease anything, it certainly made sense. Because that's the nice thing too, like if I can't finish this, which I know I'm not going to be able to finish it in one go-round, because I've got to be done in 20 or 30 minutes. And then I'll get back on later tonight before I head off to bed and do a little bit more. But I don't know that I'll be able to fully finish it. But, you know, with leased equipment, I'd be sitting there like worried, oh boy, am I gonna, you know, be paying for an extra day, you know, and then suddenly all that profit erosion comes into play with this thing. I don't know why, but the trees on the mini-map, it's like, I feel like I'm looking at a graham cracker, a green one, so it'd be moldy and probably not safe to eat, but that's what I feel like I'm looking at now. Oh, okay. I got so turned around, I'm like, is the field right in front of me? No, the field is to the left of me. It just obviously doesn't have a big gap, and so it goes ahead and does this. But as you can see, we're going to be done with fertilizer here. Now, we haven't gotten the 20%, I think. I don't think I saw that pop up. I may have missed it. That is a distinct possibility, because I've certainly had that happen before. So, but we will need to fill up a third time, well, a third load before we finish the headland, and then it still remains to be seen if we'll finish with that load, or is it going to require us to go into the fourth? And then I begin to question if the 10% was just a joke. Was it real? We must have missed it. It's at 23%, so... What is... Oh, it's that little copse of trees. This is a hill. Now this would be... Oh boy, this would be so not fun. Look at the grade on this thing. This is like, if this was a Civil War battlefield, like this, nobody would take this hill. I mean, you can see so far. This is crazy. I mean, if it was a European battlefield, which it is, you know, it's in Germany, not that it's a battlefield right now, but, you know, nobody would take that hill without significant casualties. Like, you've got a field fire and visuals that are crazy. That might be the highest point on the map. I don't know. But it's up there, that's for sure. And if I look around, I mean, I guess there's some things on the edge, but now we're into our third load. But once again, because I went ahead and had the brilliant foresight. I mean, you know, let's give me some credit that, like, I thought ahead and knew I needed more bags. And that brilliant move is just going to let me pull in, hit a few buttons, load up, and then leave. And then go right back and continue the joy of spreading that we're in the middle of. The bags are still all here. Again, I'd be worried if they weren't, because things would just be really, something would be wrong. We'd either have ghosts or we'd have bugs, which would probably be more likely. I think I went too far and got out of range or something. I don't know what happened there. Because I would have had like 800 in that one bag. I don't understand why it's Because now it's just like randomly picking bags, which it normally does. There we go, 2,800, and then we did 400, so we're going to have 600 in some bag there. So we've got 1,600 left, which is going to be half the spreader, and then we're going to have another. We'll break into the next batch. So yeah, maybe buying the 16 bags will be an even set of fertilizer. Because that seems to be kind of what it's playing out at. But maybe we'd have like an extra 1,000 at the end or something, I'm not sure. Alright, so we're going to keep moving this along. I'm going to be optimistic and think I'm going to get around in the headland before I empty this load. But maybe once again I'm dreaming. So yeah, certainly, as always, like while I'm sitting here wasting time getting back to the field, if you haven't liked and subscribed, I'd appreciate if you would do so. It helps get the message out. Yeah, this is the right place. I'm just, again, a little lost. This is the giant hill that we took. So, we got that. We got to go all the way around the edge. Like, we had gone up a little bit here. I think we're going to make it. I'd be very surprised if we didn't, honestly. I think we've got enough that we can make it happen. Because that is the kind of farmer I am. I am the make it happen guy. And I'm just going to do that. I'm going to make it happen in this case. Like, I am going to mentally will the fertilizer spreader to conserve fertilizer if we suddenly have the danger of running out, because I'm just not going to let it beat me. I'm not going to be defeated by something that sounds like it's sold by Jeff Bezos because it's an Amazon. It sounds like it's a cheap knockoff of a real fertilizer spreader that would be sold on Amazon. But, you know, who knows? Some of the products they make work well. Some not so well, you know. And you can look at reviews on the site and figure that out on your own. Because I don't want to get in trouble. You know, I don't need Jeff Bezos mad at me because I said something in a farming simulator video that he'd be like, "What's farming simulator? I need to own it." Anyway, I better stop now before I get myself in trouble. So yeah, whoa, I think I've left a gap. This is not good. Oh, I did. I left a little gap. Wouldn't that suck if I had to, like, come back and do that little bit to get to 100%? That would be hilarious. Now, I don't understand. Now, there should be no gaps now. So this makes no sense. Like, I think there's just a problem with the map. Like, it looks like what I'm guessing then is somebody actually did this contract before. And, you know, it just obviously isn't on the field, so it didn't get harvested and didn't get used, but they overspread and it counted in the next field. I don't know. I mean, I'm clearly more than enough over to be covering this and not have a gap, so I don't totally understand what is happening there. But look at that. I told you I'm the make it happen guy, and look at that. I did. Alright, so let's see what we've got. I'm going to widen this up. Now if I do this, that's what I want. And then what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm just going to start over here. And then I'm going to lock on. And we're going to start spreading the news. And, you know, I'll probably do the little part off to the right, tidy that up. It'll keep me close to the sale point, because the further away I get, then the runs are just going to get longer and longer to go get fertilizer. But at this point, This is kind of one of those, like, we're cutting the field in half for the most part, hopefully. And, you know, we've got some here. I think we've got way more over here, though, on the left. But the most important thing is, not only could we defend the hill, we have now fertilized the top of the hill. Like, the top of the hill is in optimal condition. It can be defended from all the other farmers who decide that they want to come and pick leaves. And it's now, like, fertilized, so it's going to grow profusely. And it'll be super exciting for the virtual farmer who owns this. I want one of the FMs on the server to buy this, and I want them to work it, and I want to hear them lament how they did this, but it won't happen. Because first off, I don't know that anybody could afford it. I can't even imagine the price of this field. It's got to be multiple millions of dollars. So, anywho, you've now seen all the way around. I am sure this video is incredibly long compared to what I normally do in generational farming. But it was thrilling going around the edge of the field. I mean, come on, this is what farming is about. You have now seen all the viewpoints all the way around this field. You can determine if you want to make this field your own in a single player or multiplayer experience that you take part in. So you go ahead and make that determination and do whatever you will with that information. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep doing what I will with this information, which is get this contract done at some point in my life. And if I remember, I'll let you know how much money I made. And if I don't, then you won't know. So it's just that simple. But I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll see you next time.